Hello guys, welcome again. I think we just had a small technical difficulty, so whoever that been waiting from just now, sorry. Just restarting everything back. My name is Nedu, and I'm gonna be your speaker for this particular session. We're gonna lean startup, right? So I think we are a little bit short of time, so we are 10 minutes behind schedule. So this is the agenda of the things we're gonna learn today. We're gonna talk about the LSM, Lean Startup Methodology. We're gonna talk about customer development process, ideation, lean canvas, and some of the things that we need to actually to do. A little bit background about me. I'm actually have my own consultancy firm. Currently, I do some work for Cradle for my hackathon project. I'm a certified business coach, entrepreneurship coach, and also I'm a certified HRDF trainer. A lot of things that I do is very much around entrepreneurship and also around startups. And my firm, we actually do things on very much on the very boutique side of things, entrepreneurship. I have two products right now. I have a digitization incubator and also I have a pre-ideation. So we run programs for lean startups for 8 weeks. So if you join my program, you'll be with me for 8 weeks. We do ideation, build, measure, learn. So we have customers that will work with you. So this is something that I've been doing for 1 year since last year. So whoever that been waiting, thank you very much. The topic today we're going to talk about is lean startup methodology. So lean startup methodology is basically the idea behind if you build something, you need to be able to build something that the customer wants, right? In order for you to understand what the customer wants, you need to give him small bits and pieces of your product in order for him to actually test out and actually to learn and give you feedback, right? Means that you cannot build everything and then give the customer something that he might not use or might not need. So lean startup is building something with your customer in mind and then understanding what exactly the customer can actually give you and the feedbacks he can give you and what you can actually deliver for them. So the idea is to eliminate as much of system not necessary for you. If you don't have to build it, you don't build it. If there are wasteful processes that you need to actually to eliminate, you can eliminate, right? If you actually have to like remove certain functionalities that might not be used by your customer, you need to remove it. The idea is to keep it as lean as possible. Lean means even if you talk about buying food, right? When I say meat is lean, you think that the meat does not actually have enough any fat around it, right? So the concept behind lean startup is you need to build something that is usable by the customer and eliminate process of what you call wasteful processes as much as possible, right? The concept of lean was basically brought from the concept of the customer development methodology, the CDM method that was developed by Steve Blank, right? Steve Blank actually came out with this method. He said there's a 4 steps to epiphany for any customer. You need to build, test, and provide the customer with the things that they need. And Eric Ries, which is basically Steve Blank's student, he went and developed that concept further into the concept of the lean startup. Any type of accelerator or incubator, any type of startup development program that you go into nowadays, they will actually ask you to read this book, The Lean Startup, right? So this is the concept that we use in our business, day-to-day business, to actually to help train companies, startup, small businesses in order for them to go into digitalization of their services, right? So I work with everyone. I am not limiting myself to tech startups. I have startups that actually do things like aquascaping. They go and clean people's aquariums and plant trees inside aquariums. I have people that I have midwife services. I have startups that actually deliver things like they clean your brass items, your whatever, like your pots and pans and everything. I have companies that do sneaker cleaning. So I realized the concept of the lean startup is actually cuts across whatever industry that you are in, right? So if you guys are here because you're thinking that I must be a tech startup for me to actually to be in lean, this is something that I think you guys can consider because you don't necessarily have to be a tech startup, right? So the concept is not exactly new. The concept of lean manufacturing is always been there with Toyota's standard. So any of manufacturing industry you go now, they talk about lean. They talk about lean elimination of wastages. They talk about first in, first out, all the things that talk about SOPs, procedures that allows the company to save money and then just do things that limit wasteful practices. So the idea behind lean is limit things that wasteful, right? So the LSM is actually built around the idea of three, which is basically before you do anything, you need to go and find your business idea, right? And then secondly, you need to execute it and then validate it. So the idea is you do not build something that people do not want, right? You cannot build a system, then you say that people will come. So the concept last time you used to hear that people say that if you build it, people will come, right? So nowadays it's no longer valid. People are not coming. Okay, you need to go and fight for the market. You need to fight for your audience. You need to fight for your customer. So rather than building something based on your knowledge of things, rather than building something based on your strength, rather than building something that based on your understanding on how things works, you need to build something that it's relevant to your customer. If this is what your customer wants, this is what customer needs, this is something that you can build for them, right? This is the concept behind the lean startup methodology. So ideate, build, measure, and learn is something that we need to actually go and deploy and learn and get feedbacks and do the improvement. So this is something that we're going to do. Sorry about the noise, there's a thunderstorm outside, right? So the idea behind basics principle is about finding a problem, validating the problem, right? It's not always I can build it, so I should build it, right? The question you should ask yourself before you actually embark on building a startup is not I can build it, is should this be built? Would somebody pay me money to use this, right? And there's also continuous testing and validation process built into the lean startup. And as I said, the goal is to get rid of as much of wasteful practices during the initial stages of the companies. Lean startup really helps smaller businesses because you do not have the financial strength and the financial might to actually to do everything by yourself, right? So you need to actually do something that is relevant to your business, okay? The concept that also drives lean startup is the concept that people used to say, customer is king. Whatever your customer needs, whatever your customer wants, and whatever your customer is willing to pay you, you should actually do it and you should actually implement it. So that's LSM, right? Traditionally, when you actually do something, right, when you were in school, when everybody was in school, there are some classes that allows you to actually to go and build a business plan. We will build a business plan and then we will present it to your lecturer or your teacher, and I think that's about it. But we just do business plan and financial projection based on our understanding of things, right? In terms of lean startup, the concept is building something the market needs, building something that it's somebody would pay for you to do it, right? And building something that's very basic in order for you guys to validate whether there's a need for it or not, right? So what does this mean is that you do not go out there, build something that has all the bells and whistles and you have so much of functionalities, right? You have a fully loaded system and then you go there, you realize that nobody's going to be using it, right? So this is something that traditionally we used to do, where we build some like full-fledged system, we take it out and then we go and we get all the salespersons and everything. We ask our salesperson to go and do the sales, right? And then the salesperson will find that's a very hard business to get into and then you fail. So nowadays, what we do is that we go find customer first, ask them, what's your problem? What are the things that I can actually help you build, right? And then use learnings to actually to help them to deploy it faster, deploy it easier, right? First and foremost, in terms of lean startup, the things that you need to do is understand the problem, right? Talk to people that you would like to serve, right? And then try to understand the problem. The thing is, we as entrepreneurs, we have, as people that actually want to make money out of businesses, right? We kind of think from our perspective of things, right? We do not actually think from the customer's perspective most of the time, right? For example, if you have a page, right? Let's say we have a website. If you want to make money, if you think our way of doing things, we want to put ads everywhere and everything, right? We will put pop-ups saying that click here, give me this information and everything. Because for us, that kind of satisfies our aim of either making money or gathering information or gathering data from the customer, right? But the thing is, we do not actually understand why exactly the customer wants to. We don't actually vet the opportunity and understand whether is this something that the customer really wants or really want to pay. Okay, so we need to understand the ideal situation where the customer will use your solution. Okay, so if you're building something, before you ever build it, you need to really be sure that there is a need for these particular services and this particular product in the market. Doesn't matter if it's like very niche. If you're going into a market that's nobody else is in there, it's better for you, right? Because you're building something that's not been addressed by the market. So I have seen this in the businesses that I work with, right? I have like people that actually have like, not to say mates, they have these postnatal care services, right? They take this bunch of women and then they go to their houses, they help the ladies to actually to clean the diapers, wash the clothes of the baby clothes, and clean the house for mothers who actually just delivered and everything, right? So that particular person actually realized that there's a very like small niche market for people that actually have live in apartments and everything. So their process is very much targeted to people actually live in apartments with small babies. They help things like carrying things up, bringing groceries into the houses, taking out trash and everything. So they have this wonderful process and SOPs that they actually put around a targeted idea of helping mothers who just delivered babies who live in apartment complexes and whatnot. So they went very niche. So when they went very niche, they realized that they actually understood the problem that these mothers have. And then they actually use that to actually to grow the business further, right? So the idea behind the customer validation is basically understanding the customer. First, you discover your customer, right? You discover whether is there going to be a need for this. These are the customer that I want to actually to target. Do these people actually have money for them to actually to pay me for the value that I'm actually giving them, right? So these are the questions you need to ask yourself during the discovery phase. And then once you do the discovery, then you build something that you think they will use. This is not what they want to use. You think they will use based on your understanding of their customer that you did during the discovery process. And what you do after that, you do the validation, right? You do the validation where you build an MVP, you build a POC, or you build whatever you want to call it, take it to your customer, ask them to use it. When they actually use it, and then you ask them for the feedback, does this actually solve the problem? Are you happy using this? Is this relevant to you? Does this give the satisfaction of a product that you will pay money for? Right? You ask them all these questions. If they say no, I'm not happy. If they say no, this does not help me solve my problem. If they say no, I have other options available in the market, then you pivot. You pivot means that you actually go and make some kind of iteration on the products or services, and then take it out, and then you actually go back to the customer. You keep on asking them this process until they are really happy. When they are really happy means you actually created a customer, right? When you created a customer, ultimately that can help you build the company. So normally what we'll do, traditionally, we'll build a company. We'll hire people, we hire developers and everything. Then we go and brainstorm an idea. We say, I want to focus for banking industry, for example. We will build something for the banking industry, and then we go and knock doors. We knock for what? We'll say, hey, can I get a POC? Can I get a validation? Can you guys give me a chance for me to prove? So what we're doing traditionally is that we're building something and then we're asking people to test it. We're asking people to use it. So the mismatch happen is because the people that we are pushing it to might not be the people that are actually using the system and services. Understand or not? So this is something that we need to do during the customer development process, right? You discover a series of potential business models, and then you validate it. During validation, there's two things you need to keep on asking yourself. Is my business scalable and is my business repeatable? Right? And then you do your customization where you actually build your demand and awareness, and then you go and build a company, right? So discover, validate, create, and build your company. These are the 4 steps of customer. Once you understand this, you can actually don't have to worry about products anymore, right? You don't have to worry about technology anymore. From my experience doing these things, technology does not matter anymore when people understand customer development process, because when you know your customer, you know the need for certain services, you understand that they want certain things and everything. There is no longer a need for you guys to be very technology focused. The technology can change, your product can change, services can change, but once you understand the customer, this is where your business going to take off, right? First step, when you actually do your customer validation and everything, you do 2 things. You do your customer discovery, you do your product market fit, you do your business model hypothesis, go out, get feedback, and fine-tune your product services. So this is what you do during step 1, which is basically the 4-step process. I'm not going to talk about customer creation and company building, because that's something that's not very relevant to lean startup, right? So I like to actually share people this what you call diagram. It's a double diamond diagram that you use for design thinking, right? So the problem of design thinking, not say problem, the concept of design thinking is basically empathize and understand your customer. So what I always try to say to people is that you cannot just go and find the solution. You first need to find the need. If there's no need, you do not have to give them a solution, right? So this is something that in design thinking says you need to understand the customer. Also applicable to lean startup and customer development processes, because when you actually know the need, right, you can find hundreds of ways of actually providing a solution, right? If I have one need, you can find me 10 different ways of solving the equation. But if I find one, if you have one solution, right, you can just solve one problem. You might not be able to solve a lot of problems. So if you find need, you can solve multiple problems using one particular solution. So this is something that drives customer discovery and also drives lean startup, because you understand and validate, and then you keep on reiterating the process until it works for you and works for your company, right? So once you have actually done that, you need to also see that there is a product market fit. PMF is a product market fit. So you understood your customer, right? You understood the needs for it. By the time you need to understand whether is there a product market fit. Means that is there a lot of people that actually desire your product, right? Desire means do they actually want to pay you money to do it, right? And as a business, you need to understand. You need to ask yourself: if I do this for a group of people, right, I spend my money doing this, does it make me money, right? For an example, I had this company that actually was selling like small products like hair clip pins and everything, right? So they were actually trying to scale up and everything. They were trying to like sell like small batches and everything. I realized that there's a lot of people that actually want the products and services, but in order for them to actually make money, they need to sell like huge volumes because the product is so cheap. So they didn't want to actually like sell like in batches and everything. So they had a disjoint with the market, because they could not find a distributor that can actually move volumes for them. So even though there was a desirable product, the viability was not in terms of them to make money. You also need to ask yourself as a company, can I build this? Like, do I have people that can actually help me build this? Do I have a team of people that can actually help me develop and deploy this, right? So these are the things that you also ask yourself, okay? To break this diagram further, this is something that you can actually ask yourself, right? Do they need this or not, right? Do they need this and do they want this? There's a difference between needs and wants. I always ask customer, need is, people will say they actually will need, they will need 100 things, right? But when you look at things like the wants, right, or wants that actually they're willing to pay, and wants is something totally different, right? So the customer needs are basically basic needs like I want to be safe, I want to be belonging, I want to have this. If you look at the things that Abraham Maslow has actually came out, right? The needs of your customer always around this, right? Am I helping you to make your life better psychologically, right? Can I deliver you food faster? Can I give you lot of choice of food, right? Can I give you solutions like safety, right? Can I make your house safe? Can I help you make money? Like, can I help you to find friends? Can I help you to learn where you increase your self-esteem? Those kind of things, right? These are the needs. And wants are people like things want to be delivered around you, right? I have a need for me to eat, right? At the same time, I want it to be delivered to me very fast, and I want to have a lot of options. This is how we actually teach people to see in terms of wants and need for customers, right? People need a lot of things. When you takes the need and you actually put a want to it, what will happen? You have a business, right? Which is a demand. Okay, needs is the Maslow hierarchy of needs. If you can deliver it faster, you can deliver it with a lot of options, you can deliver it cheaper, you can deliver it, I don't know, in different geographical areas and everything. What you'll have, you actually have demand, right? So you will need to create demand for products if you think there is no demand for it. So to understand demand is basically understanding the needs and wants. And then wants will be backed by money and the willingness to spend money. Okay, so remember this. Always ask your question: can I do it faster? Can I do it cheaper? Can I do it easier? Can I do it at different geographical areas? Right? Can I do it with different groups of people? Right? So these are the kind of things you need to ask yourself when you do the process of building your business plan. Step two, when you actually have done that, have you realized that I want to go lean, I want to understand my process, I want to understand my customer and everything, you need to understand the other thing behind it is basically the idea of how you actually sell it to the customer, right? You need to find people like visionaries that buy into the idea. And then once you go to the market, you need to determine your positioning and verifying your validation process. How can I do this? There's a lot of ways for you guys to actually can do validation, right? You can do like step-step validation where you actually go and do this and ask people, you know, there's a lot of process of customer validation that you can actually go and check. But the easiest way for you guys to actually do customer validation is if you build something, right? The MVP, find the person that in your customer base that's more likely to use it. Give it to them, leave it with them, ask them, okay, you play around with this, you use it, break it for me. Once you break it for me, then you tell me what works for you, what does not work for you, what you like about it, what you hate about it. And then based on that, I will actually do the relevant changes and I can do this for you, right? This is how you do validation. There's a lot of steps for you guys to do validation, right? But during validation, you need to think about two things. When you validate your customer, you need to think about scalability and you need to think about repeatability, right? These are the two things that actually help you in terms of validation as a startup. It's not about you just building something, just leave it, right? There's two things will happen when scalability. Scalability, you need to ask yourself as a startup, can I provide people with the same quality, same price, same type of service, same type of experience, everything? Now I have 10 people, right? Now I have 10 customers, I can provide them the best. Let's say suddenly I have thousands of people coming in asking me for the same product or the same service, right? Can I actually get the same service? Can I get the same price? Am I ready to actually meet that sudden increase in demand, right? So if you know that you can actually scale, it means that you are able to compete, right? I've seen this a lot, especially in startups. When you actually do something, you will pour everything in it. You do everything like in your power to build a solution, build a service. What will happen at that point of time is that you will spend a lot of money. You will do everything until people say last breath, right? You will spend your last breath to actually to deliver something to your customer. Once you deliver, you will actually have a sign. You breathe. Well, it's okay, done. I'm done with it. But suddenly your customer will say, hey, I like your solution. Tomorrow I have another 100 sites that you can need to deploy. Can you do that or not? You know how Malaysian startups normally answer this solution this question, and they will tell you that I can actually deliver, but I need funding, I need money, right? So as a startup founder, you need to actually think about this. Tomorrow, if my customer asks me to go to 10 sites, can I do it? The day after tomorrow, if they ask me to go to 100 sites, can I do it? Right? If you think internally you have the capability for you guys to scale fast, scale easily, you actually have a competitive business. At the same time, can you repeat it? Right? Can you repeat it over and over? Can you use similar results? Can you use similar results? Can you build processes and everything? Repeatability is another thing that startups actually, I think in Malaysia, because we don't write it down, right? We depend on someone. You might have a CTO, a tech guy, whoever that actually assisting you. You might hire a programmer or something like that. He will build an MP for you, he build something for you, you will deliver it to the customer, right? Tomorrow you will get another customer who will asking you the same thing, right? At the point of time, you will realize the person that builds it for you he says, okay, I quit, I want to go do something else. So what will happen is that you would not have repeatability because you have not written it down, you have not documented it, you have not built processes, and you have not trained people to repeat the process over and over again, right? You might sound like this is not very important to you, but think about it. If you build something and the person that actually has built it for you have left the company or left your startup to do his own things, can you do it or not? Right? So this is something that I also keep on asking my startups. I ask my startups, I ask them, hey guys, is this something repeatable? Is this something you can actually do? Right? And then is it something that you can do with a new team in a new country? Can you do it in a new location? Right? Repeatability is not about just doing it over and over again. It's also about, can you do it in a different locations? Can you have a new team somewhere to do the same thing over and over again for you? Right? Can you do it in a different country? So if you think you can do that, you actually have repeatability and scalability. You have a validated market, and then you can actually use this for you to grow. Okay, I would like to always share about this story about nasi kandar pelita. I don't know, this might not be relevant to startups in a way, but if you go to nasi kandar pelita, right, and you compare them to other mamaks, right, a lot of startups actually sit down in mama and have their business. We actually validate our ideas there. You realize that nasi kandar pelita actually has two things. They understand what the customer wants, right? In terms of the customer discovery, like they have fast food, they have the same menu all over everywhere, wherever you guys go, right? They have clearly identified their staff with the nice baju and the nice hat and everything, so you know these are people working for Pelita, you can order for them. The food tastes the same everywhere that you guys go, right? And they actually have managed to actually do the idea of validation over and over again because they can actually repeat the same thing in new location easily, and you have the same experience over. So think about this. Something like Kanda Pelita, right? Something that's like you wouldn't even like think about it. They have really fine-tuned their repeatability and scalability. Can you guys as business owners, right? Can we as business owners, can we as tech companies, can you think about how can I be the nasi kandar pelita of tech, right? How can my customers get the same experience wherever they go? How can I open branches in different country, different state, different places easily? How is my process so defined that everywhere I go, every single place I go, I have the same experience over and over again, right? So this is why nasi kandar pelita is something that I would like to tell people, because when you talk about tech companies, people do not actually associate themselves with, you might have used certain services, you might not have used certain services, right? But when you talk about nasi kandar pelita, probably you guys actually have sat down in nasi kandar pelita, and then you might have went to a different nasi kandar pelita, and you felt that the same experience is there, right? So this is why you talk about scalability and repeatability is going to be the core essence of a lean startup and how you can actually grow yourself further, right? Also, when you actually done your scalability and your repeatability, you need to also go out of your office shop and everything and run tests, run trials, right? Talk to people. I think one of the things that a lot of tech founders, tech bad guys, we fail because we do not know how to talk like a business person. We do not know how to ask the right question and make the right business decision, right? We often ask about functionalities. Does this button work? Does this UI is nice for you? When you click on this, does this give this result for you? How long? How is long does it take for the page to load? How responsive is my app? So we used to ask this type of questions, which is great because it kind of gives us ideas to improve our solutions and improve our systems better. But what does not give us is it does not give us the idea of how do I actually go and what they call it improve my services, right? So you need to also think about asking the right question to the customer. Okay. So I also want to touch a little bit about ideation here. The reason I also want to talk about ideation is because we know about lean. I know, okay, I want to do this fast. I want to do a process where I want to understand my customer and then I want to eliminate wasteful processes and I want to go and do this. But I do not have idea. How do I actually solve my customer's problem, right? Then I want you guys also to think about the process of ideation, right? The ideation journey in Lean is about setting a mission. Ask yourself, what is the problem statement of my customer, right? And another thing you need to do is defer judgment, accept all views. You would think that the person that using the system wouldn't have same understanding on things. We will think that certain things are common sense. We would think that if there's a button here that says N, somebody will be able to figure that out and press it and exit the whatever system that we are using, right? I kind of found this idea journey in terms of differing judgment, right? I did a Zoom session where the people that I joined the sessions were all like older gentlemen, older people and everything. And I have about 100 of them. So they wanted to talk. We kind of think that button that actually shows the mic, they know what does mute mean. They know if you click this, then you can actually talk, right? And then you think this is something they want to do. But ultimately, what I realized was that a lot of people, a lot of older people do not know this. So that's my mistake because I did not judge them, right? I thought that these guys should know it. This is, if they are on Zoom, they're actually joining a call, they should know this. So that's where you say you defer judgments. Stay on topic, be visual when you present your idea to your customer, and then ultimately you don't actually need to even solve a problem, right? You just need to strike a small spark on your customer's brain. They say, hey, this sounds like something I want to use. This sounds like something I'm willing to pay. This sounds like something that might interest me or might interest my boss. That means you already have an idea, right? So this is how you start an ideation journey. Other ways you can do ideation is also you can talk about other steps, but always talk about styles. There are some people different styles, right? You talk to certain customers, they will have lack of focus. They will say that I want to do this thing, and then they'll actually go and do something else. And most of the time, when we do our solutions, like we'll be over-analyzing, right? We are fed with so much data and so much information. We try to over-analyze things, and then we just do one or two ideas. So when you talk about ideation, for me, just go crazy, do a lot of things that we can actually do, give a lot of ideas, and try to solve the customer's pain points at a very early stage, right? You can also think about ideation by doing design thinking, right? A lot of classes, a lot of startups teach this design thinking ideations, right? there's a lot of companies that actually have different way for them to actually, not just companies, a lot of thought leaders actually have different ways that they actually teach design thinking, right? So different institutes have different ways of looking at design thinking, but ultimately design thinking is about one thing, it's about understanding your customer, empathy. That's why Lean Startup also tells the same thing. Lean Startup says that you need to first validate your customer. By validating, that you're understanding them. By understanding them, you also mean that you're empathizing with them, right? This is how you validate design thinking and how you actually do the deployment that's relevant to the particular businesses, right? I also actually quite like this particular model that was used by the Israel Technology of Institute. I actually completed one of courses with them, right? They have this concept called Z for you to do ideation when you do you want to deliver something for your customer. First and foremost, you zoom in. Zoom in means you go and find the problem, right? The needs for your solution. Try to understand the customer, try to see all the problems, every single thing that might cause a problem. And then you zoom out, where you go out and you actually go and do like come out crazy ideas, right? And then once you do the crazy ideas, you come back, you zoom back in, and then you choose the best ideas that kind of solve the problem, right? So I would like anybody that's listening here, that if you guys say, I actually want to do something for my customers, and try to use this method, right? For me, I think compared to the other ideation models and everything, this is kind of very easily understandable, right? Zoom in, zoom out, zoom in again, right? This is not a process that you actually have to be like structured process, right? This works for a lot of crazy ideas and crazy inventions. I know Malaysia, when they talk about Israel and everything, a lot of people have Israel and everything, but I kind of, if you go and see the number of patents and the number of things that the Israeli institutions are actually launching out, it's crazy, right? And I realized that in Technion, a lot of people are taught this method when you actually do deployment of ideas to solve your customers' pain points, right? So this is something you can explore further if you go and read about it. You can also use another tool which is about Scamper. Scamper is about actually using an existing idea and do some kind of implementations that's relevant to the particular solution, right? There is a template for Scamper, right? Scamper is about substituting, combining, adapt, modify, put into other use, eliminate, or reverse. So Scamper is something that you can actually use to actually ideate as well. So there's a lot of methods for you guys to ideate. Why I actually talk about ideation a lot when Lean Startup is one thing, identifying the customer pain point, right? Understanding customer pain point is one thing. You understand, you can understand your customer, like you can even know what food they like, you even know when's their birthday, you know when's their wedding anniversary and everything. But one thing that is very hard for you guys to actually to do is give a solution for their problem, right? So for this case, I would always say there's a lot of methods to do it. I like the Z method. You guys can do Scamper, you guys can do design thinking, you can do a lot of things for you guys to do ideation, okay? So you know what the customer wants, you do your ideation, and once you do your ideations and anything, put it in a plan, right? Put it in a communication plan, and then you do your root cause analysis, you do your benefits and everything, put it in a plan. And what type of plan that for Lean Startup, how do you actually plan it, right? For Lean Startup, the plan that you actually use, it's something called Lean Canvas, right? Lean Canvas is something like, sorry, yeah. The Lean Canvas is a system, not say system, like it's some similar to your business model canvas. A lot of you guys might have heard about business model canvas. Lean Canvas was by a guy called Ash Moria. Ash Moria is also one of the students of Steve Blank and Eric Ries. What they actually did was he went and simplified the business model canvas, right? If you guys want to go and actually try this and by yourself, I would recommend you. There's this. Go to Neo Chronos page. right? They actually have a lean canvas document in Word doc. So the exact document you see there, you can actually download it. It's free, and then you can actually try it out and putting your idea across. And so the concept of lean canvas is, this is basically the lean canvas. It has two things. It has the product side, and it actually has the market side, right? The product side tells you a lot of things about your product. The market side tells you a lot of things about your market. So when you define your product and you define your market, you actually have your business, right? Lean canvas is important for me. I think it's very much because it kind of structures your ideas, right? You would have a lot of ideas in head, right? When we actually have sit down and think about it. When you drive, you want to go where you were talking about, solutioning and everything. You realize that there's a lot of ideas in your head. There's a lot of things you actually want to do and everything. By having a lean canvas, for me, to summarize this, is kind of gives you boxes for you to put ideas, right? It organizes it in a way that you can expand it further. You organize first, then you expand it further, right? How do you do it? First and foremost, for lean canvas, if you guys are downloading, you can try if you have an idea. You do not have an idea to how to do this, later when after this particular session, you guys can come back and then you guys can sit down with me, and then you can reach out to me. We can actually explore this, right? The concept of lean, first and foremost, you need to understand customer, right? That's number one. Understand who exactly going to be the users. Understand who exactly is going to be the people that pays for you, right? And understand who exactly going to be the first and the earliest adopters for your system, right? It's like this. Let's say you're designing something for the Kementerian Kesihatan, an example, for the Ministry of Health. You guys know that your target audience is the Ministry of Health, but at the same time, you need to test it out with someone to prove that your hypothesis is right, right? For that particular case, you can actually use your early adopters, which is can be like a clinic kesehatan first, or a normal small government-owned clinic to actually test it out. So those will be your early adopters. So you don't actually have to reach to the Ministry of Health right away. Okay. The second step is, once you understand who's your customer, you write their problems. Okay. What is the main problem? You zoom out and understand, and then you think about the existing alternative that they have. Other than me, what are the other things they can actually use to solve their problem, right? You write that and you go to understand your unique value proposition, which is basically what you can actually deliver customer, what you're promising your customer. Once you know what exactly you're promising them, once you know what are their value proposition and everything, you know why they should actually choose you compared to your customer. Sorry, compared to your competitor, right? First, you understand your customer. Second, you understand their problem and the alternatives that they have to solve their problem. Third, write your UVP where you tell everyone that why I'm better than existing alternative, right? And then explain your solution, right? And then explain your channels. How do you reach your customer? Are you talking about social media channels? Are you talking about directly going to the customers? Are you talking about word of mouth? Are you talking to a lot of things, right? After that, think about how you're going to make money, your revenue streams, right? And what are the things that costing you money to build the solution? Do you need to pay someone? You need to pay your developers. Do you need to pay for advertising? Do you need to pay influencers and all kind of things, right? And after you done that, then you will see that there's things that you need to measure in terms of performance. Are you measuring yourself in terms of the number of users have acquired? Are you measuring yourself in terms of the number of paying customers, right? Are you measuring yourself in terms of the number of tickets you close, right? So the key metrics are the numbers that matter for you and matters for your customer, right? And then finally, what you need to do, you need to think about the unfair advantage. You need to think about why can I do this and why can my customers, my competitors cannot copy this. It can be things like your internal knowledge of things. You might know something your competitors does not know. can be things like IPs. You might own IPs that people cannot copy. You might have knowledge of things. You might have manpower. You might have access to certain market or something like that. So these are the unfair advantage. So you write this down. Once you write this down, you will see you have a concept which is lean canvas. A lean canvas can also be a business plan, right? But the good thing about lean canvas, because you actually have defined it in different boxes, what you can do actually, you can take it out, you can actually write it as a business plan, right? I'll give you some examples of lean canvas that people are. You think that the Facebook that was launched in 2004, right? Sorry about the storm. You think about the things they actually have done. They thought about it, right? They thought about the customer segments. They talk about the alternatives, right? You guys can see this. They talk about early adopters. They did it at Harvard, so they had this particular scene defined. Okay, Amazon 1994 was very much focused on the problem that book readers do not have enough online bookstores, right? Do not have recommendations. They built something, started from there, and now Amazon is the giant that it is, right? So this is something that Amazon has. Right? YouTube, this is something YouTube did. Similar, mass market for video users, video blogs was not there. They created it. Airbnb, similar, right? They kind of figure out that the travelers are looking for low prices and everything, right? People have accommodations. They want to become hosts. They created this, right? So these are something you guys can actually go and see. But ultimately, it comes down to this. Lean startup is about you guys finding solutions, finding ideas that work for you guys to explore and deploy it for your customer. But there will be a point when you will actually think that, should I actually just pivot? Should I proceed or should I quit? Because once you start getting feedback from your customer, this is where you need to go and do your changes. How do you do the changes? Is about depending on situations, right? You either you correct your course, you move different directions, or you just stop, right? So first thing you need to understand whether the thing you're doing is somebody else doing it or not. Is your idea obsolete? Is your not executable? The excitement from your customer, right? Once you have understood and you see certain like red flags, right? You understand there might be some problem somewhere. What you have to also do is you need to think about pivoting, right? So a pivot is not a failure, okay? A pivot is when you should actually move a different direction. I'm also know that we actually a little bit running out of time, but it's okay. Pivot is actually when you kind of have to go away from certain ideas, right? We as startups, we kind of all in love in ideas. We really want to do it. We really want to deploy it. But there will be certain points in life, in our business life, that we say we should stop. The concept of lean startup also says something about fail fast and fail often. So if you fail fast, saves you a lot of money, right? So lean startup also teaches you to actually to fail early. So because you do not spend much time failing at a later stage. So when you see your customer is giving you some feedback saying that this might not work for me, I would not have money for pay to it, or your customer base says this might not be used by my customers, okay, my users and everything, then you pivot, right? The idea is to find a place where you make money, right? So you need to find a place to actually to pivot faster and cheaper. You might not know, but some of the startups that are actually like what do you call famous tech companies used to be different, right? Audio become Twitter, Confinity become PayPal. A lot of guys become different things. So if you have to pivot at a certain point of time, do you fail? I wouldn't say you fail. You're just trying to go into a place that's much more marketable, right? So you can actually think about pivot separately as a process or an understanding by itself. But in lean startup process actually built into it. That's why we have the circular process, right? There's a lot of ways you can actually pivot. There's a zoom in pivot. For example, if you build something, right? You might build a system that has 5 functionalities, but you realize there's only one functionality that people are using or one functionality that people are paying. So rather than you spend time completing the additional 4 functionalities, you just throw out the 4 functionalities and you just do one, right? That is a zoom in pivot. There is also zoom out pivot where you either you might build something, right? For example, you might build a payment gateway. Okay, build a payment gateway, and then you also realize that when you actually build a payment gateway, you might have people that wants to use payment devices, QR code scanners, or maybe credit card readers and those kind of stuff. So you build those as well. So you build something small and then you zoom out to become something bigger. That's also type of pivot, right? There's a customer segment pivot. You might be building it for people and suddenly you realize that it's much more suitable for business. From B2C, you go to B, or from B2B, you go to B2G. So there's also customer segment pivots you can change up. There's also customer need pivot where you talk about, you might build something that you think solves one problem, but they have more problems to solve, right? There's platform change. You might go from mobile to web, from web to a lot of other things. There can be also like business architecture pivots. There's value capture pivots and engine of growth pivots as well, right? So you might be using something like a guerrilla marketing for marketing or something like that to capture customers, right? Then you realize it's very hard for you to actually capture customers. So you might just buy customers from someone. You pay someone to actually to get you some customers and everything. So that can also be a type of pivot that you do, right? There's also channel pivot and technology pivot. So why I want you to actually guys understand this is that in Lean Canvas, it tells you it's okay for you guys to change, right? It's okay for you guys to drop an idea. It's okay for you guys to actually to throw one of the ideas away and then just do the things that you guys do by yourself. Okay. So that's kind of like ends. I know like running a little bit out of time. Sorry guys. In summary, I just would like to tell you guys, if you guys want to do lean startup, remember things, build a hypothesis, test it out, get opinions from those who've done it. I mean, either get a mentor and go ask people who actually have done it and people actually have failed it. Another thing I will also want to tell you guys is, so entrepreneurship can be a very lonely journey, especially when you do tech startups and everything. If you can get a co-founder that actually has same vision, right, but thinks differently than you, get a co-founder, validate from clients, deploy and monetize. This is the concept that you keep on repeating for a lean startup. I'm available if you guys want to test out certain ideas. If you guys, anyone that listening want to understand certain things, we can actually help you out with that. So I would recommend a few readings. I want to recommend 4 books for you guys. I know 1 hour is not enough for lean startups. Obviously, the first book you want to buy is The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. This is a must for you guys to read before you become a lean startup, person that does lean startup. Secondly, there is this book called The Startup Owner Manual. This is by Bob Doff and Steve Blank. So this is another reading if you guys planning to go and understand the whole religion of lean startup. This is what you do, right? And then there's also this book called Business Model Generation. This is by Alexander Osterwalder and US Pigno. This is also, I think, this book kind of becomes basis of the previous book, which is the Startup Owner Manual. And there's another book called The 4 Steps of Epiphany by Steve Blank. This also explains about the development process. And finally, it's a thing called Running Lean by Ash Moria. So there's these 5 books. For me, if you want to convert yourself into this religion of lean, right? You read these 5 books. It kind of covers everything that you need to know for you to become a lean startup, right? And I believe in lean. I have managed to talk with startups that actually have done lean as well, right? So for me, I think lean works, and I think for you guys, lean will work as well. And I think that's my thing. So thank you guys.